And at the time of JFK's moon project announcement, we could barely get a man into orbit. And suddenly, now, less than a decade, men, Americans, were walking on the surface of the moon, and NASA was sending us pictures of it into our living rooms. Television was new. We saw their footprints on the moon. It was unthinkable. 40 years later, if we decided to do this again, do you think we could get that done in 9 years? That's half the country that watched and said, my gosh, look what man in America with freedom can accomplish. But 3 weeks later, this was happening at a place in upstate New York, Woodstock. It was sex in the mud, drugs, rock and roll, no values, no morals, no rules. For 3 days, 500,000 people hedonistically celebrated everything that the people who were watching the moon landing thought was bad in life. And they did it all under the banner of love. Whoa, man, you are harshing my mellow with that love thing. Yeah, it was groovy at Woodstock. Maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I don't think the, orgies in the mud with people you met 15 minutes ago, as Country Joe is screaming the F word on stage, is the basis for anything that's lasting in the happiness department. But this was the summer that led us here. There were two major camps in America. Those whose imaginations were captured by the spirit of adventure, innovation, ingenuity, the Apollo Project. And those who were the sex, drugs, and anti-establishment mud people of Woodstock. Which person are you? Which of these two events was the most important to you? Which one was the most important to America? That question has been asked before. I'll show you the answer next. A house divided against itself cannot stand. United we stand, divided we fall. All right, we're a split nation. Well, what happened? I believe it was the summer of 1969. Which event was more important? Woodstock, the Summer of Love, or the moon landing? They happened within 3 weeks of each other. For me, anytime I would think of 1969, I think of the moon landing. I've never thought of Woodstock. I mean, loser city is what I think of. But I guarantee that most people in the Obama administration would say Woodstock over the moon landing. I know this in 2000, what was it, seven Senators Clinton and Schumer sponsored $1 million earmark for the Woodstock Museum. Let the dope-smoking hippies buy their own museum. Influential hippie slash terrorist slash now respectable Illinois educator, William Ayers, said this on the night Obama won the election. He said, quote, "It's one of those transcendental moments like everybody my age thinks they were at Woodstock." Hard to read. Anyway, this is a 65-year-old guy. Ayers called the election of the first black president a huge blow against white supremacy and a sign that the culture wars of the 1960s were finally over. That means that he thinks that Woodstock won. And maybe he's right. Let me ask you, the non-hippie, non-terrorist, which event better represents who we are and who we want to be? Which one do you want your children to, which one pushes them into a better person in a better country? Because this is the split. We're going to try to correct the history of the founders, the progressives, and the civil rights movement this summer. We're going to show you how the textbooks have it all wrong. And we'll show you in a way that you can check it for yourself. I contend that America is comprised of people who said we can put a man on the moon and did. And also those who roll around in the mud. Which one are you? The one who will fight for freedom to go to the moon and will think out of the box and accomplish amazing things? Or the one that thinks man should be rolling around in the mud and not reaching for the stars? This is the fundamental question. Who are we? But they have so distorted the history of the moon landing now at this point that it doesn't even, does it? Isn't it almost like it's a bad thing now that America did it? I don't know why. Maybe we left litter up there. I don't know why. It's bad. It's like the military-industrial complex. Massive waste of money we could have used on welfare or something. I don't know. But we don't even look at that anymore. We study more about Woodstock. This summer, not only are we going to restore the history of the founders and the progressives and the civil rights movement and 1969, I will show you where our kids' textbooks have it wrong. So if you join me this summer and you commit with me to restore the right questions, who are we? Who am I and who are we? By fall, your kids are going to be able to stand up for themselves and respectfully challenge the authorities. When your teacher says, well, that just says right here in the textbooks. I actually had somebody get a question wrong. In my hometown, a friend of mine, their kid came back from school and said, I got this question wrong. Where do our rights come from? They wrote God. They got it wrong. Mom went to the school and brought the textbooks and brought the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and said, maybe you haven't read these. Where do they get rights from? 40 years ago, the 20-something said, don't trust, man, anybody over 30. Okay, let's remember that. Except let's change it just a little bit. I think we shouldn't trust anyone over 60 if when they were 20, they said, don't trust anyone over 30. And let's find out what we really believe and what the truth is this summer here on the Glenn Beck program. We started here at the stories of America, the stories that are happening in the world today. And tomorrow, we're going to start here. We're going to go to The World Condemns Israel After the Peace Ship. We've been doing our homework today, and tomorrow I'm going to bring you a look at history. I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you this. This is the question I asked this morning, has there ever been a time where the media or politicians have created villains before, and it spiraled the world out of control, and only until after did you find out, wait, that's not really what happened? Tomorrow. Also, the history of hating Israel. Man, a lot of people have hatred for Israel. What's the deal? Then the summer of 1969 and its relationship to the peace ship. And then something that just is, in fact, I think it's happening or just did happen right around the corner here in Times Square. The Socialist for a Free Gaza. Socialist for the Free Gaza. You don't want to miss it as we start tomorrow on the story of America. I just have to tell you, Aaron told me she'll give me $10 because it drives him nuts in lighting if I walk here. So you owe me $10. All right. Couple of things that I want to ask you. Please make an appointment on your calendar to join me in Washington on August 28th at the Feet of Lincoln Memorial. Amazing week in Washington. Also, I've told you about this book, A Patriot's History of the United States. I think every American should have this book. There's a new one out, 7 Events That Made America, America. I have the author of this book. This is in stores tonight. Have the author of this on Friday as we discover or rediscover Ben Franklin. That's Friday from New York. Good night, America.